Okay, I didn't say anything, just thank you, and you're all applauding, so this looks very positive. Okay, thank you. So, as the manager introduced me, my name is Tamara Jevtović. I come from Serbia, Association for Animal Rights and Protection, Freedom for Animals, or just short, Freedom for Animals. So I've been in that NGO for 2 years now. My previous experience is in Mensa, like coordinating regional Mensa for 4 years as well. So during this lecture, I will explain you about the stakeholders, who are they, how to manage them, why are they important, how to communicate with them, and how to get the best effect for the animals. Also, I would like to thank all of you for coming and to support first CARE and then this lecture. And of course, the organizers of the CARE, because I think this is really important for us, especially developing countries. This is a great opportunity to learn. And I'm very, very happy because I can see that much people who want to work and help animals. So about the time frame of my lecture, I was planning it to be for 35 minutes, the presentation, and then 10 minutes for the questions. I know you will all be hungry, so I'll try to not be that long. So if you have any questions during my presentations, please be free to interrupt me, because I'll try to put everything in this small presentation you can use and to give you the examples. So if I can explain something more, or if I didn't explain something well, please just raise your hand and I'll try to explain it better. So how this lecture was, how it come here. So a few days ago, I was very tired. I was at my desk working on the presentation. I said, oh God, what the heck, why do I need this? I was very tired and I was almost asleep and I was just like this and I just stood, woof, woof. Said, what? What's happening? And again, woof, woof. And I was like my eyes, so what's happening? And then there was my thunder asking me, Tamara, what is a stakeholder? So does anybody here have a clue what a stakeholder is? You can please be free to say something. So, yeah.
I perceive it as any website.
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Everything's okay now, no worry.
Yeah, any interested side that can have effects on him, her, out of that topic.
Yeah, that is very good definition. So a stakeholder is any person, group, or institution with an interest in your project, event, campaign, or whatever you do. So thank you for the good answer. If I had a cookie or a cake, I would give it now to you as reward, but I don't. So, so as you can see, this is very wide definition of a stakeholder. So it can be one person, a group, a team, or organization with an interest, and this is the key word of this definition. So interest both can be positive and negative, but the interest is very important in this definition. And you can see from this definition that the stakeholder they can differ. For example, they can be one person, like individual, like one politician, or the whole group, like political party, or they can be other NGOs. They can really differ, and of course, based on that, their interests can differ. So, for example, stakeholder is a person who wants to help you, like this fellow here. So it's very important to see and recognize when somebody wants to help you and when they want to contribute, and to accept their help and to search for their help, and not just to look in your business, but to look wide and to see around you if there is anybody who can help or have interest. So again, when I was very tired during that presentation, my thunder also asked me, what do you think? Why are stakeholders important? So we saw that they have interests, and we can say that stakeholders can have resources we don't, or we have resources they don't, but we have the same interest, which again is the key word. So we can do more together if we work together and use each other's resources. So that's why we should pay attention to stakeholders and work with them and dedicate our time to them. So the process of working with stakeholders has 5 stages. First, we have to identify and map the stakeholders. So here is very, very important to think wide, to have wider perspective, and to have in mind everyone and everybody who can have an interest. So sometimes it's hard, especially if you work alone, pardon. So I suggest for you to work with your team, to use brainstorming techniques or some other techniques which can help you think laterally, and just bear in mind that they can very differ, and never be afraid to identify somebody as a stakeholder. If they have high role and they're very important, you will see later they can be your key stakeholders. So don't ever think, oh, why would they help me, or why would they have interest with my campaign or my project? Just be bold and bear in mind that you are important. You're important to them too, as they are to you. So next is analyze. We will learn more about analyzing stakeholders on the next slide. And also developing communication strategy. So you have to analyze stakeholders because you have to know how much of your time and time of your team you should dedicate to those stakeholders. If they are not very important to you, you shouldn't dedicate a lot of your time to them, but focus rather on those who have high power and interest, which you will see later. And developing communication strategy is very important because some of the stakeholders are very busy, some of them has high interests, and those who have high interests, of course, you want to include more, which also you will see later. And then you come to managing. When you're already in touch with them, you involve them, gain input, set expectations, just like to see where you are, where they are, and how to work best with them. And of course, always review. Always see and ask yourself, what can I or we do better with this stakeholder and with this project? Because as the things changes, maybe you will have some new stakeholders, or some of the old won't be your stakeholders anymore. Because for example, I'll just give a small example with this, because we are now have Big for Free campaign, which I'll also explain later. Yeah. But when we had somebody from Holland, some of the farmers who use minks, of course then our stakeholders changes, because we could include more ecological eco-organizations, because minks are very bad for the environment. So you can see how the situation changes, and you can always ask yourself if there are different stakeholders then. So, and the right side is about past, present, and the future. When you're identifying stakeholders, you always bear in mind what's their past. So if they're previously included in some campaign or showed interest in some topic, so Google is your friend, and Google them, see what they worked before on, what are their interests. So this is very important to know your stakeholder before you get in touch with them. Because when you see if they like something or don't like something, or they have interest in some topic, you'll gain them easier, and you'll get them on your side and get them on board very easy. So about the present, when you look and search their history, present, just ask yourself, how can I make myself more important to them? What is important to them, and which of my strengths I can emphasize and gain them on the board. And future is very important. Always have on your mind that the stakeholders you're working now with will probably be your friends, I hope, or enemies, I don't hope, in the future. So if you now manage them good, have good relations with them, it would be easier for you on your next project to get them on the board. Because, for example, now we have For Free campaign, and if you have some politician on our side, we know how he loves to communicate, what are their interests, and now for the next project, we will know how we'll spend less time on getting them on board. So when we analyze stakeholders, we have this chart. Here we have low interest and low power. So it's very important to know your stakeholder and to have in mind if they have power and if they have interest, and if yes, how much. So those who are here in this part of the chart, you should just monitor to bear in mind that they exist and keep them in minimum effort, but keep them close to you, but don't give too much time to, don't dedicate too much your time to them, because they probably can't help you too much now, but maybe in the future they'll have more interest for some next project or the next campaign you're working on. Next one is people who have high interest and high power. Those are the ones you won't keep informed. Of course, you can use, I don't know, newsletters, you can use emails, you can use telephone calls, meetings. It, of course, depends on the stakeholder and the communication strategy where you will later learn to develop. This is very interesting. I would like to give you an example of this. When a group of high interest and low power made a change, because that's not like very usual. If you don't have power, unfortunately, usually you don't make the change. There was a recent news in the UK when I heard about the news when one of the mothers who want to use medical cannabis for her son couldn't get it for her sick son. It's for medical use, and there were like a lot of in the media attention because she's a mother of a sick son who can give him the medicine. And of course, a lot of people were on her side and wanted to help her. That's when you will see that group of high interest and low power, when there is a big, very big group of people, politicians care about them. And those are also when we make citizen initiatives, when politicians see that there are so many people. I mean, one person don't have the power, but if there are more of us, if we show we are together and we are the team, they will care about us. Also, another example is crowdfunding. You know crowdfunding, yeah? Crowdfunding is when people who have high interest, for example, people who have idea of a project, want to attract people of high power, and that's how we can connect these two. So people of high power and high interest are those who you want to keep satisfied because they'll maybe make decisions about your project or can really help you a lot. And these ones you want to move here and manage closely. You want to improve and to increase their interest in your project. I'll use just the project, not to say project, campaign, or whatever you're doing. So you want to move them here. That's when you want to see what motivates them, what is important to them. We'll also do that later. And so this is a chart, and you should always bear in mind what is the role of that stakeholder. Is he a decision maker? Is he from the media? Can he inform a lot of people? And to use his role the best. So primary stakeholders are those who are directly interested in your project. Secondary are those who are indirectly interested in your project. And key stakeholders are like the top, like one or two persons or a group who is like on the top and who you want to focus the most on, but they're usually the hardest to reach. For example, for our fur ban, We have a president of the state who can give a veto. You know veto? Yeah, who can forbid the law, who can give the veto, and that's why he is our key stakeholder. And in the end, I would like to tell you to always know your enemy, and of course we can all learn this, but always bear in mind that if you have an opponent, he probably knows all of this, and they'll also do this, and they'll also have stakeholders, and this is very, very important when lobbying, because if you have your side and the politicians are on your or their side or indifferent, but always bear in mind that you have an enemy and that he is opponent and that he probably knows this. Maybe they have care conferences as well. So this is a table which can help you to learn more about your stakeholders and to gain more effect from them. Here you can write in first column who your stakeholder is when you identify and analyze them. This is also part of the analysis. And this is when you think what motivates them. Bear in mind that companies usually are motivated by profit, but there are also people behind those companies. There are people who have different interests, who like different stuff. So don't be afraid of companies, of political parties, because in the end we are all just people. It just depends how we team up and which groups we make. So motivation can be money, getting to more people. It can really differ, but bear in mind what they do, and on that depends what motivation will be for them. So what is likely to pursue them? This is very connected with what motivates them. For example, if there is a group of politicians who decide on some law, it's likely to pursue them that, for example, we do public poll opinion, and if they say that there is 95 people against fur, that is very likely to pursue the politicians. So because they care, they want votes, and that is what is important to them. And what are they likely to object to or to resist? You should always be prepared. Not everything is like sugar and honey. It's not vegan, but sugar and agave, or what? So bear in mind that they probably have something they don't like about your project, and be prepared to have an answer if they started that in the conversation. Maybe they'll say, but people will lose jobs if we ban fur. So try to explain them the economical reasons of fox fur, like foal, okay? So try to prepare all the answers to the possible questions, and so you don't get in like awkward situation and don't know what to do. Next is, what are they likely to favor, support? This also depends. If it's like big company, for example, for vegan festival, designer company, there is more likely for them to favor the projects which has more of designer parts or visual parts. For example, videos, vegan festivals, pictures, everything where they'll be more visible to the public. Here it's very important to always be honest with your stakeholders, but also to emphasize your strengths. This is what's likely to pursue them. We don't lie, that's very bad, but we just emphasize our best strengths which are interested to them. For example, we had letters of support for our fur-free ban, which we were sending to politicians, to the eco organizations, to the animal welfare and animal protection organizations. And of course, we adjusted our letters of support to what motivates the group we sent our letter of support to. So it's not like telling the untruth, it's just adjusting your situation and your explanation to what are they interested in. Here's allegiance of your stakeholders. You can have advocates, followers, indifferent stakeholders, blockers, and opponents. So when you get the stakeholders, when you analyze them, where they are, if they have power and interest, here you will see if they have allegiance to your project and how much did they bite. So advocates, those are the group of people who are directly involved and directly working on the project. For example, they can be your employees or you can your volunteers, it really depends. And followers, they are just around there, maybe they're interested in topic, but they're not aware of the goal. So about the followers, you should get their attention to the goal and explain them why their performance is important for that specific situation or that specific project. Indifferent are people who are like on not the one or the other side. In Serbian we have like a quote, nit smrdi, nit miriše. It means it don't smell, it don't smell nor stings. So you don't know which side they're on. So you can get them on board, but you need to work with them. Also, it depends. If they have high power, you really want to work with these people who are indifferent. Give them information, give them facts, meet with them, interview them, send them emails. Of course, don't be rude, but just how much is needed. But try to get them on your board, because if they have high power and high interest, you really want to work with them. If they're low power and low interest, don't bother over them, don't stress over them, because you want to work with the ones who are higher. Blockers and opponents are usually your enemies, but they don't have to be. It really depends. So this is like really soft to recognize if somebody just blocking or I don't care about it, or he wants for you bad. So this is important to try to just estimate and analyze your stakeholders to know if they're only blockers or opponents. So for them also, if they are high interest and high power, you want to give them facts. You want to work with them. But this also depends on the stakeholders, right? Next one is communication strategy. I know that these tables maybe look confusing, but when you sit down and start to work with them, they're very easy to work with. You can work with your team and really use them good. And also, if you want a presentation, I can send it to you. So stakeholder, you can, in the first column, you can write the stakeholders. Which are the key concerns, when to contact, how often to contact, how to contact, and key messages. We also see this later on one of the examples. But this is very important to bear in mind that to different stakeholders, you have to have different approaches. That's like really soft skills you have to develop. You have to bear this in mind when talking with them and negotiating with them and getting them on your side. So now I would like to give you an example on our Free Serbia campaign. I think it's like easier for you to understand everything we were talking about, to see that that's not very very heavy. Sorry, I have to have a glass of water or I'll die. So for those of you who didn't have the chance and didn't visit our stall, we have the stall in the lobby, so be free to come there and inform yourself more. Our Free for Serbia campaign is part of regional campaign for Free Forever. And our aim is to abolish the fair practice in our region. So our current situation is that in 2.5 months, so January the 1st, fair bans should come into force. The farmers had 10 years by the law to transfer their practice into something else or to abolish their practices. So we know that lots of them didn't, and that they are lobbying and they are working hard on abolishing this ban. So we really want to save it because we are pretty aware because of the Bosnia and Herzegovina situation. And if now our ban is abolished, that everything will just go crazy and be a very bad situation. So really, we are working hard now on it. So this is the communication strategy we talked earlier about. These are different stakeholders I named just for explanation. They can be members of parliament, political parties, and citizens. Key concerns about members of parliament when you win them over. First is how to win them over, and after that, will they keep their promise? How can you be sure if they give you the word? And we all know politicians lie, right? So this is if they will keep their promise and will they be on your side. When to contact and how often to contact. This really depends. For some of this, I just gave you an example. For some of the stakeholders, you want to contact them only for events. For some of them, you want to contact them when you have new information. It really depends on the role of the stakeholder and what he can do for you. And of some of the stakeholders, for example, sympathizers, you know that word or just I made it up? Okay. Okay, for example, for your sympathizers, people who are interested in your campaign, just they are your stakeholders as well, but you want to inform them maybe once a month or once in 2 weeks because they want to be informed. If you remember, one of the group is the one you have to keep informed. How to contact. Members of parliament usually want to be contacted by emails or letters because they don't have too much time to sit with you, have chat with you, unfortunately, but they don't. We are not in their like primary focus, but will be. So letters are usually more effective because based on our experience, they told us they have a lot of emails and it's very hard for them to prioritize. So usually when they get like something printed, like brochure or leaflets, it's kind of very usual and it really helps. Key messages. This can be like your notes. For me, I think it is very important to put one person in charge for communication with one stakeholder. Because if we know, we all in the team have in mind that there is one stakeholder, he exists, okay, but we don't know who is contacting him or her. And we also have to have person in charge. That's just an example of keynotes. You can write anything you want here, if whatever helps you. So this is very, very important here to have wide perspective. Thank you. To have wide perspective of stakeholders. They can always differ, and this very depends on your campaign or your project. Also, in our situation, because this is connected to fur-free campaign, as I explained, this is the example. This can be anyone who is or can't be against fur. That doesn't mean they have to be like directly against fur, but they are affected by fur somehow. They can also be faux fur producers, and they can be fur producers as well. They are also your stakeholders, but negative ones. So just have wider perspective and try to distance yourself from the problem and from the project, and just to think objective. Did I also objectively? Okay, I again made up the word. Okay. So and the most important, wait for it. Drum rolls, please. What's happening? Volunteers. They are people who are, for me, the most important, your most important stakeholders. They are the people who give their time, who dedicate their free time to help your cause. They have high interest. And if there is a lot of us, we have high power as well. They always appreciate their work, respect their interests, develop them. Always say thank you. Okay, Yelena is drawing a heart. Respect them. Always say thank you. We usually forget, I don't know about your organization, but unfortunately, in that much of information and that much work, I usually forget to say thank you, but I'm really trying hard to change that. So always say thank you to our volunteers. They are really precious. In the end, respect them, trust them, and give them responsibilities. That's how you'll include them more, and they will feel they're part of the team. So in the end, we have questions and answers. And you'll see here how to contact us. I'll leave this slide during the questions and answers session. So you can send us email, like us on Facebook, call me, do whatever you want. So these are the contact information. If you want presentation, you can send me an email and ask me. Of course, we're always happy to help if we can. And now you can ask. Shoot it. Thank you.